what we need are rules of the road. Zain, one of my favorite expressions is that cars can go much faster on roads that have lines painted on them. Imagine you're trying to drive down a road and there's no this side and that side or anything else, and you're like sort of driving and trying to figure out not hitting anybody and not going off the side. By the Clarity Act, hopefully becoming law, we're going to paint some lines on the road. And yes, does that mean we can't really just zoom around over here and over there? Yes, it does. It does provide certain constraints, but the opportunities it opens up for everybody in this space, I think, are immense and incredibly exciting.
Hello and welcome to another very exciting episode of the Vault of BitGo podcast. I'm Zain Bedi. I help lead fintech partnerships here at BitGo, and I am joined by my esteemed guest, Lewis Cohen, who is the co-chair of the Digital Assets and Emerging Technologies practice at Cahill, Gordon, and Randell. Welcome.
We just recently are in the process of updating our name to Frontier Technologies, because emerging, not really enough. We're Frontier. You got to go to that next step.
Yeah.
So now we're not even on the website. You got breaking news here on the Vault podcast.
We got the scoop before everybody else did. I love it.
Got it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's great to have you here. I think that actually makes a lot of sense though,
Yeah.
right? It's not emerging technologies.
Right.
It's you are literally on the frontier of different industries, and in this case, blockchain and digital assets, and helping navigate what that will look like. It's not necessarily that it's nascent and emerging. It's actually developing.
It's here, it's with us. We'll talk a lot more about that. And of course, the other thing we can't help but miss, of course, is how AI and agentic AI is interconnecting with all of this. So, our practice has always been about the confluence of traditional technologies and traditional finance and new blockchain-based and crypto finance. AI, and particularly agentic AI, is just adding to that kind of coming together of how all these different pieces will operate, where the world of finance is going to be in 1, 2, and 3 years. And we're already here, and it's just just a great time to be in the space.
It's crazy, man. It feels like both with AI and digital assets that 2026 is proving to be a very pivotal year. What's your read on where we're at from a legislative perspective, and where hopefully having some clarity here in an open road will allow us the industry to flourish the right way and the proper way?
You have so many of these conversations and the word clarity inevitably comes up and we can't quite resist it. And I think it's a great name for the market structure legislation, because really, as someone who's been in the space now quite a long time, really over 10 years of active work, the absence of clarity and just the uncertainty that really impacted builders, developers, and businesses like BitGo, it just held everything back. As a lawyer, well, can I do this? And inevitably I'd find myself, it's not very clear.
Yeah.
And what we need are rules of the road. Zain, one of my favorite expressions is that cars can go much faster on roads that have lines painted on them. Imagine you're trying to drive down a road and there's no this side and that side or anything else, and you're like sort of driving and trying to figure out not hitting anybody and not going off the side. By the Clarity Act, hopefully becoming law, we're going to paint some lines on the road. And yes, does that mean we can't really just zoom around over here and over there? Yes, it does. It does provide certain constraints, but the opportunities it opens up for everybody in this space, I think, are immense and incredibly exciting. So I think I'm really optimistic. And look, we'll talk about even if clarity doesn't happen, because that is a possibility. Yeah. But either way, I think so many builders are here and doing so many exciting things. It's just a great time to be in the space.
Absolutely. It is. It feels like the floodgates are opening up in a way that the industry can build on the rails with the right guidance in the right manner. And I apologize. We have this chessboard set up, and we should probably start to play.
I'm ready to go.
A little bit of chat and chess.
Well, I'm kindly white, so the guest gets to be white.
Yes.
So I'll open us up here, and I would love this idea.
Alrighty. You were talking about a little bit with the Clarity Act, where it sits today. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it got past the banking committee and then now is actually with the Senate. How do you expect that to play out? Are you quite keen that we are going to see this get passed, or are you a little bit dubious that it may not have the support that's required?
Well, I'm certainly optimistic, Zain. I would say I'm encouraged. Nobody quite knows, and it's a little bit like when you march the football down the field and you get all the way inside the red zone and you're maybe on the 6-yard line and you can see the end zone. You also look up at the clock.
Yeah.
And the clock's going. And so you feel pretty good that you've got the right team on the field, you've got a lot of options, and maybe we got 4 downs. But we only got maybe less than 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah.
So we've really got to make this happen. And I'm going to make this happen by making a move here.
I love it.
I'm optimistic, but a lot of things kind of need to go right now. And we can't be having, an offsides. We can't, and in politics, stuff happens, it's just the reality of things.
But you're saying that right now with where it sits in terms of the timeline for it to actually get approved, it's important to execute those 4 downs so we can punch it and bring it home.
That's exactly right. We'll have to come up with some non-sports metaphors. I promise you, it's not all sports all the time. I did a different podcast. I had a lot of movie metaphors. And then my interviewer, a lovely guy, kindly asked me, well, what's your favorite movie you saw in the last year? And then I'm like, oh, crud, I haven't seen a movie in the last year. So that was very embarrassing. I have seen sports, so I'm covered there. But yeah, these are all ways of understanding what's going on in our world. Yeah. And I think it's just a helpful analog. But like a football match or whatever you have, we have a lot of different people that need to contribute now. And one thing I would just call out on the Senate side is Senate Banking did advance the bill on a bipartisan basis, which is fantastic, and much credit to Senators also Brooks and Gallego for the Democratic caucus who voted at least to progress the bill. We still need the House Agriculture Committee to bring that side together. And one of the things that are holding us up now is sort of some of this process. Banking has done its side, but all of the commodities and CFTC side is in the jurisdiction of the Senate Agriculture Committee, and that still is kind of working its way through with its own inevitable little issues. So that's why we're not quite there yet. I mean, I'm so engrossed in the conversation that I've got to, kind of to think about where we are. Exactly.
Yes, it's hard to plot out your strategy while also
it's all good.
Having
think about that. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Oh, that's a strong move, man. You've seen the industry progress a lot over the last decade, but the question that still today, it seems, is at the heart of much of what the industry is struggling with is it a security? Which, funny enough, this is 100-year-old legislation, essentially, and here we are still talking about, does it apply to this frontier technology, not emerging technology?
We reason a lot, by analogy, and I was using the analogy of football a moment ago, but in many ways, the Howey test, which of course at this point everybody is full and sick of, it's simply a model that we use to extrapolate from. Yes. And the court back in 1947, I want to say, 46, 47, looked at this particular kind of set of facts, rather idiosyncratic and random, and tried to craft a set of principles. And I think, from my mind, the Supreme Court did do a good job at that time in crafting those principles. Prongs of the Howey test, which is an investment of money in a common enterprise with a reasonable expectation of profit, primarily from the efforts of others, I think that was never really our problem, I would say. I think the problem was how it was applied. And I think that's kind of the core thing. I often joke that I got the Howey test tattooed on my arm. I repeated it so much. It still might. My wife would kill me. But, honey, what the hell? It as a set of principles, lifted out of a very random, factual pattern of orange groves, and the story is well known, has done us very well. But let me make a move, and then I'll tell you why I think it actually has
if I'm hearing you
stood
right,
up. Yeah.
Here, man, you're saying it served us very well, but it shouldn't necessarily be the be-all, end-all for how we judge everything as a security? Or is that an oversimplification of your position?
A little bit, only I'm saying because of this. When I said it's how it's applied, I think we have to separate two very different things. And I think where, unfortunately, we took a 3+ year detour in the wrong direction is under the former administration. The SEC focused very much on whether a particular digital asset itself was a security. And we wrote in a very lengthy piece about that ineluctable modality of securities law because that was just wrong. It was just mistaken, and I think it was end-oriented, and it's a good reminder why principles are important and not ends. The idea that if I say to you, Zain, I got, let's forget the game, let's forget, I got a new idea for you.
Let's hear it.
I got a new kind of sneaker.
Okay.
And this is freaking awesome. You wouldn't look at me as a lawyer like, what's the guy know about kicks? But turns out I do.
Yeah.
And I've got a prototype, and if I could just raise about like 100K, I could build them out and sell them, and they're going to be worth a lot. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to come in at $1 a pair. So I'll give you, as many pairs as you want at $1 a pair. And once I get them up and running, you could sell them. They're going to go for $100 easy. These are amazing kicks. What do you say? Are you in?
I'm in.
I just pitched you an investment contract, right? Yeah. You're taking your money, your hard-earned money, you're putting it into our common enterprise, and you're expecting profit. You don't really need 100 pair of sneakers. You want to sell them and make a profit. That pattern we see over and over and over again. And that's a pattern we have to be careful about because people are doing securities-like activity. They are, and there is a very gray line between I'm just selling you, you're a wholesaler and you're buying sneakers, or you're an investor in my enterprise. And the Howey test over 70 years has tried to give people dividing lines. Where it went just horribly wrong, to your point, and where it just doesn't fit at all with crypto, is trying to say, well, these assets, these sneakers, as it were, the crypto coins, they're themselves securities. And by the way, if you bought some and then you resold to your colleagues here, you'd be engaging in a securities transaction. I'm sorry, what? They're sneakers. They're not securities. And I think that this SEC has really understood that, and it's made all the difference in the world. So I just want to make clear, it's less an issue of the principles of the Howey test and more how they got applied. That's what I meant.
Yeah, how they were enforced.
Yes.
By the different agencies. And you brought up a very interesting point as well, which is we have moved in many cases from a enforcement as a way of writing the rules to actually sitting down, getting together with people like yourselves and other industry partners and actually writing down the rules.
Yes.
What do you think of that change? Obviously it's welcomed, but do you think that will continue throughout this administration, next administration? How do you kind of see that developing?
Sure. Are we back to me?
I think it actually might be my
I think it is your move.
Yeah,
I think
it's my move.
Keep it track of all.
You were looking at it
yeah,
with a little...
I'm just pondering. So I think in terms of, how this sort of plays out, I think there is a forking path around whether we do get federal legislation. And I think one good thing is being on the 6-yard line, as it were, is that if we don't get the Senate to vote affirmatively on some version of the Clarity Act before the August recess, we'll be in a tough spot. And it's I wouldn't call it zero chance after that, but it's really you need 2 scores in 40 seconds, and you need an onside
highly
kick.
improbable.
You got a lot of things that got to go right at that point. So we're going to have a pretty good sense soon enough. If Clarity does pass, there's a lot of rulemaking. I think we tallied up. There's maybe, I can't recall, of course, the exact number, but 40 to 60 separate rulemakings. We saw this with Dodd-Frank, where there were just unlimited rulemakings, and it just, in all fairness to the teams at the SEC and the CFTC, it just takes a while. Some of these rules can, you have to have a proposing release, an adopting release. You have to think through the comments and do a lot of stuff. And when you do all that, it just takes time. So if Clarity does pass, I think there'll be a near-term bump of elation as we say, okay, we've kind of got it, we've achieved something that really will stand the test of time, and it would be very hard for a new administration to really foundationally change that. But then we're going to hit sort of that Gartner period of a trough of uncertainty, as we said, now what kind of thing, the inevitable dog caught car moment. Okay, we got our law passed. World kind of looks the same. I didn't notice the sky changing colors. And it'll still take a lot of hard work from the community after that. But let me make a move, and then what happens, of course, if we don't get a new law, and how does that all work?
Lewis, I gotta ask, man, because
Please.
obviously it may have just been an example for like
Yes.
the story, but are you a sneakerhead at all? Or?
Well, in the most limited of senses.
Okay.
If you want my true, this is again breaking news here. Breaking news number 2. Lewis is like embarrassing secrets. I'm more of like a pedal head because I play very poor guitar. But this is a tip. If you don't play guitar well, get a lot of pedals. It's great. Sounds amazing. And you're like, wow, dude can play. Like, yeah. So like if I collect like odd boutique, and there is a certain overlap between sneaker people, and because you can wear them and do stuff with them, but you also just like to look at them and think, wow, look how nice they are on my wall over there.
Little trophy up there.
Trophy, right.
Yeah,
so I do have some fun sneakers, but I also love my pedals.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So more pedal head than
More
you are a
pedal, probably
sneakerhead.
in complete fairness. If we're wasting our hard-earned money, it's probably more in the pedal direction than the kicks direction.
Not to take us too much on a tangent, but obviously you play guitar. You rocking like a Gibson. What's the
I
setup?
have so I've got you're coaxing out all my dirty secrets.
I am.
Which is fun, isn't it? So I've got a Strat that I got as a kid,
Beautiful.
and I loved it. I had it when I was maybe 14, which is a cough some years ago. And in my wisdom as a youth, I took off the Jimi Hendrix cream color and just sanded it right down. But it's just the wood, but it looks kind of a little Stevie Ray Vaughan-ish kind of.
That's awesome, dude.
But it's a really cool piece, and with I replaced the pickups along the way, and it's a lovely thing, and I really enjoy it. A rosewood fretboard, so that, and then more recently I got in the last couple of years I got a Telly, which is I always wanted a Telly, and it's just fun. It's got a really nice tone, and then here's my true admission against interest, right?
Uh-oh.
Somewhere along the way. I know. God, please do not strike me down. All my fans out there, I bought a Chibson. And do you know what a Chibson is?
Mm-mm.
Oh, God. A Chibson is a fake Gibson made in China on Temu. I couldn't stop myself. I'm sorry. It was late. And it was $300.
Okay.
And I'm like, damn it, I'm buying the Chibson.
Yeah.
And it's wrong. I know it's wrong. I understand it. But I did. And there you have it. Now you know. I bought a Chibson.
Did the quality hold up?
It's surprisingly good for a fake damn guitar, You'd be surprised. It's wrong. I'm just going to own it. Copyright infringement bad. Kids out there today, don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't
encourage them. Don't encourage them. But if it's late, you've been drinking, and it's $300, goddamn, go for it.
Temu makes it hard, man, when it's that cheap and it's that quick. Yeah,
exactly. I think that was before the tariffs, so that's when they were really popping them.
Yeah,
anyway.
That was the good old days.
Exactly. 6-9 months ago. Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah. Wait, I think it's to you. I think I'm my pod.
Yes, it is. It's my turn.
Yeah.
And we were discussing
clarity and what
it
it took to get clarity over the line. The inevitable question we need to think about is, and what if not, right? And that is, I am optimistic, and I do believe it's the more likely than not, but not by much. And so, just being realistic and recognizing that, I think we are very fortunate right now to have an SEC and commissioners who really do understand how to balance technology innovation and kind of thoughtful regulation. And of course, Commissioner Hester Peirce has written extensively on these topics, but Commissioners Ueda and Atkins obviously are right there standing everything up. We're all wondering what this innovation exemption we've heard a lot about is going to be. What's it going to do? A lot is pointing toward tokenized securities, and maybe we can talk more about that. I know it's really critical for anyone in the space. I think the broad idea that if we don't get clarity, we're going to probably lean a little bit more into the merger of traditional finance and DeFi with tokenized securities and the ability for individuals to trade, lend against, and do other things with those kind of assets. And I think that is just going to fire up so much energy around the world. There's 100%. So much capital right now that looks at the US markets and just can't find a way in.
Yeah.
And this is really going to open that up. So I think that's something really exciting to to look forward to.
When you were at DLX Law, your previous firm, you wrote a little bit about how the securitization and tokenization would be handled. How do you think that thesis that you wrote about, you and your colleagues published, how do you think that's holding up in the current environment with the new guidance that is coming out across Clarity, Genius, and then also some of the stuff that Chairman Atkins and the rest of the crew have been saying?
Yeah. Started writing, the piece you're making reference to is the one I referred to, ineluctable modality of securities laws. People don't like, what the hell is with the ridiculous name? It is, because now I brought it up, so I'm going to tell briefly the story.
Please.
But it does relate to for the three people out there who have not heard me tell the story now, it does relate to the James Joyce novel Ulysses, and it's the first line of the first chapter that is in the second part, where we really get into kind of what is the nature of things, and it talks about the ineluctable modality of the visible. What is the inherent nature of what we see and touch and feel? And really, that's the question I ask myself. What is the inherent nature of a security? What is, we don't spend enough time saying, what is this? And that's how I got to the conclusion that these tokens, whatever they may be, they're not securities, because a security is a legal relationship. And that's really the main takeaway of the scholarly work that we did, and all of it, 180 odd pages. When we think about what is a security, it's the thing that binds us together commercially, because you've given me money and you expect to get it back. You've invested in my business. It's not the paper, the token, or whatever it may be that represents that. It's the actual relationship. And I think that's when a token does not create a relationship, it's just not a security. Now, whether that's a good thing, whether we want 1 million governance tokens out there, we can have that discussion, but they're not securities. So, and I'm down a piece to boot. So,
that wasn't fair. I did it while you were distracted.
For the fans watching at home. So good to know there. So I'm with you.
So what you're saying is, it's not, maybe in many cases over the last decade, people have become hyper fixated over the medium in which this is happening. But at the end of the day, the transaction, or what's the legal obligation for either party, is what matters here.
Yes.
And that's what defines a security from your standpoint.
That's right. What's the economic relationship, right? What's happening between us? I think I always try and take things, and you might say, like, what the heck with the James Joyce and the thing, but it's a human thing. It's really a human thing. What are we doing between each other? And the law is really there to provide those kind of guardrails, to keep us from behaving like bumper cars. I often think of, I give you the example of driving down a road with lanes that you can understand. The opposite, to my mind, is the feeling that we're in a bumper car at an amusement park, where all we do is go forward a couple of inches, bump into somebody, back up, go in another direction. That's not efficient. That doesn't create productive economic activity. What we want is for people to understand their relations, figure things out. Yes, make mistakes. Yes, lose money. Losing money is very, very important, because it's how the market learns. That did not work out. Wow. Hopefully won't do that again. But we learn. In a bumper car, you never learn, because you never get anywhere.
You're just constantly fighting the friction.
Right. And so what we want with our legal systems ultimately is to provide rules that folks can understand and then get on with, and then shoot their shot, and economically speaking, and figure stuff out and say, I'm going to give this a try and let's see what works. And hopefully, as lawyers, all we can do is help people sort of just kind of stay on the path best as they can. But it's the builders, the creators, the people who developed all this incredible technology that are the ones really who deserve all the credit.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lewis, one thing that came through clearly when doing background research, talking to you before we sat down and did this, is you seem to really care for those builders, those innovators, helping them pave the path. Is that a big reason or impetus for you having ever even joined the digital asset space and being at the frontier of everything going on?
No, it's exactly right. And again, it comes back to kind of human things. A gentleman of a certain age here. So I had a career. I did a lot of stuff in more traditional finance, and it was fine, and I enjoyed it. But it was never really stimulating in the way. Once I started working, I worked with Consensus, the company, and on some of the very earliest token projects that they did. Long story and happenstance, but it was very fortuitous. And you work with people, and not everybody was. Many were young, but not all. But they were just driven to take this technology and do something interesting. And look, many of those projects on the subject of things not working out did not work out. It's a well-known story, and I think that's okay. That's fine. What was stimulating and exciting, what made me say, "Hey, I want to do that. I want to be over there," was because they were really motivated and excited. And I think, what BitGo does is just what all these providers do is like create the groundwork, help build the garden that things can grow in. You plant some seeds, they don't go anywhere. Like, oh crap, man, that didn't grow. Okay, but fine, whatever. But we're here to help those that are planting and creating to have the best chance at growing and having something worth harvesting, and that's valuable in and of itself. We're tending the garden of innovation.
It's massively valuable. In fact, I don't think the innovation happens without people like yourself.
For a lot of people, in all different walks of life, and our colleagues in regulation. I think it is really unfortunate the reputational harm that did occur under the prior administration, because really we should hold our regulators in the highest regard.
Absolutely.
Actually, these are people not very well paid at all, many of whom are quite capable of serving themselves and their families, and instead they choose public service, and they do a lot for the world, and we should work with them as partners. And yes, they're there to don't do that, and sometimes you need someone
absolutely, man,
to give you that poke. And so
going back, everything's very human at the end of the day.
Exactly, that's exactly right. So I think we've lost that. I think the current administration has brought a lot of that back. I think that's a real positive, and I think it hopefully is a force multiplier, because as people see what the crypto task force did, particularly at the SEC, but Mike Selig's done amazing work, of course, at the CFTC as well. People see that and then say, I want to engage with you, and when you tell me not to do something, I'm going to listen to you and say, maybe that's not such a good idea, actually. Whereas when you tell everybody everything's wrong, everything's bad, just don't, then people are like, come on, that's not, that's not really right. People want good rules. They want rules that they can understand. Rules ultimately need to be digested, and we all have that inner barometer.
Yeah.
And so when regulators say, all of these things are okay, but you know what? These are places that are problematic, and let me tell you why. I think people relate to that, and we get better long-term outcomes.
I completely agree with you. And,
are we back to me?
I believe so.
You believe?
Yeah,
because I took you.
You took me, right?
Yeah, I took you. I opened up here, but you opened up there.
And then I think I moved. Yeah, I moved my.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Yes, that's you're good. You're good. Okay.
It again gets to something very human, but it's to not even have a Socratic discussion about it or debate, and it just be very authoritative. You're wrong, and this is wrong, and it did breed a mistrust, a distrust with the regulators. But it sounds like you think that they are bridging that gap, that chasm that was created at least in the prior administration.
I think that is happening now, and I think we've got a ways to go. So we're following a little bit of the theme on, okay, what if clarity does pass? What if it doesn't? And of course, the role of all of our regulators are going to be so much more important if clarity does not pass. And I think we've got to we've got to prepare for that. And to do that, we're going to just have to be a little living on the edge here. All right, so because otherwise we'd be here all day. And I play. Just secret to you guys. Yeah, I play chess about as well as I play guitar. And let me tell you, I don't got any pedals for chess. So it's really. I wish we had like a stomp box for the chess game.
Yeah,
and it would be so awesome. It would be a way more fun game. But no.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
I think first off, definitely want to hear you jam one day. See some videos after we're done here.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you have like a band you play with or anything like that?
No. It's just whenever like fate throws something my way, but that's,
DTCC test pilot.
Yep.
We're having a ton of conversations with a lot of our clients and partners across the industry. Obviously, it's a welcomed development. It's quite exciting. What kind of role are you guys playing in those conversations that are happening? Let's just call it what it is, at literally the heart of the traditional finance system.
Absolutely. You mentioned I was spent some years on my own more or less at a boutique type firm.
Yeah.
I came to Cahill really because I saw the direction of play, and that really there was this merger of traditional finance and DTCC as the central clearing system in the U.S. for securities was going to play just a crucial role, and I wanted to be literally on Wall Street. Our office is just down the block from here. We're very active with a bunch of different tokenization projects, but I do want to call out, I think, the great work that DTCC are doing, but some of the challenges as well. Ultimately, I would say, Zain, that what makes blockchain technology so strong and differentiated is its credible neutrality. That is to say, it's, people are constantly developing and implementing proprietary software systems.
Yeah.
There's a line between something that's purely proprietary, a SaaS system, whatever it may be, but still functionally controlled by a small number of people. Even if you could say, well, it's not one person, you know that whatever that system is, you kind of know that there are a couple of people that are functionally calling the shots. I think what attracts people to open and permissionless chains is that credible neutrality, that there isn't really, any government actor, private sector actor that can say, Ethereum, stop that chain kind of thing. And I think you see that as well with the Solana network. That ultimately, I do believe there's a place in the world for people who worry about, confidentiality and privacy and different things. Completely get that. I think there's a place in the world for both sort of options, but I think it is when we talk about securities, I think there are plenty of opportunities to have true tokenized securities on public and neutral infrastructure. And let me figure out what's going on here.
And not just a paper version of whatever the real thing is that sits, off chain, but you're talking about an actual tokenized equity issued on chain directly with voting rights, the full kit and caboodle.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And not just on chain, but on a public and open chain, as opposed to on basically functionally a closed system where that it's really more of a SaaS system. That's not a bad thing, and many SaaS systems are great and add a lot of value, but it's not quite the same thing as a true permissionless, open, incredibly neutral system.
It's interesting you say that. We've obviously been having a lot of discussions with partners and a lot of these types of interviews as well. And one of the things that a guest of ours brought up was the macro environment, the geopolitical environment, and that being the rationale as to why this non-sovereign backed, fully free, decentralized medium of transaction is going to be key. Is that the same way you see it? Because you mentioned a government not being able to just pause and say, hey, look, we don't like Ethereum anymore. We want to shut down the network.
Yes.
Are you seeing it as being resistant to a changing order of the globe?
Yeah, I mean, you've put your finger on really an important, and that's why, again, I was a philosophy major undergrad.
I can tell. I can tell.
I gravitate to these things. Censorship is a super difficult question. There are many bad actors out there, and we don't want that. I was in New York City on 9/11. I lived it and experienced it. It's horrific. And we obviously have to do everything we can. Yet at the same time, we have to live as free people in this world too. And we have to recognize that, there's a give and take in all these things. And I think overall, we've done a great job in allowing, self-sovereignty and independence. We recognize it's not unlimited, but it is. Ultimately, we want to live in a free world, even if it's dangerous, and we need to figure out how to make those boundaries and make them work.
As you said, what are the rules of the road?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lewis, what were some of your favorite philosophers, if you don't mind?
Yeah. No, I always have to know. It'll I guess come as a surprise to nobody that I leaned into this sort of more logic-oriented philosophy, more of the early 20th century, early 1900s, and Bertrand Russell and Wittgenstein, and people who wanted to understand how the world worked. Perhaps one of the most important things for me was the work of Gödel, who's now, what's Godel? It's Gödel's first name now, it's drawn a blank. So there was a movement at the beginning of the 20th century to say the logical positivism, that everything we know in the world can be proven if you just take a small number of axioms about the world that are very simple. We can all agree, the basic properties of mathematics, and then all truth can be built on that. That was this movement, and founded by Bertrand Russell. And it'll inevitably come to me what Gödel's first name was. And a German logician said, well, I'm not sure that's quite right. And he built a proof known as Gödel's proof. And it proved that any complex system inherently has uncertainty baked into it. And it really foundationally changed things. And it really ties into this idea that we live in this world and we have to kind of figure things out for ourselves. We're not going to have one set of rules that solve everything for us. So it's really was around the same time that existentialism became a vibrant movement. I only recently got around to reading The Stranger by Camus, something I'd been about for a long time. And it hits you very powerfully of what is our place in the world and how do we interact with the world. And Gödel's proof and understanding that there is necessary uncertainty, and that's okay, and we can live with it. And I think when you work in crypto, there's plenty of necessary uncertainty. So I feel I got a good grounding there, of I got no idea. Well, I'm just going to start making stuff out. Look, we have uncertainty. We do our best in the face of uncertainty to apply ourselves and test ourselves and figure it out. I think that's kind of what we're there for. I have never climbed a rock face in my life, and rest assured I never will. But it's a little bit like that. We just try and find our holds and lift ourselves up. And when we look at a problem from a distance, we see a sheer face. But as we get closer to it, we see, no, it's not really that sheer. And there are places and there are ways we can lift ourselves up, we can progress things, and we can do that. I think that's the job of all of us, certainly of the lawyers who help people who are builders, to okay, let's look for those. I know this thing. Okay, I don't know a lot of things, but I know this. What can I build from that? And what can I take? And how do we help people figure things out, based on what we can know, recognizing there's a lot. Am I okay? Am I going to go to jail if I do this? A question I get surprisingly often. And sometimes I can say, that's really a bad idea. A lot of times they say, well, it's tough. I can't say for sure, but how about we look at it a little differently? How about we think about it this way and solve the problem in another direction? And then they're like, oh, that's great. So we do that as much as we can.
That's brilliant.
Are we back to me, or no? I think we're.
Yes, I just moved.
Oh, you moved there. Okay, gotcha.
So, what is that next?
Yeah.
that next rung in the facade? Where do you think is the next battle that you guys really have to take on to continue to progress the industry?
Yeah, take the bait. Also, because we're not going to be here forever, and we don't have the clock, Yes. So I will say this, Zain, and maybe for all the kind of funning around, a more serious thing to say, and that is an honest criticism of the crypto community is it's just leaned too quickly and easily into the low-hanging fruit of speculation and non-GDP productive activity.
Yeah.
And it's now any one company, one builder, one network, one platform, one anything. Unless we can find ways to add to the greater economy, to the greater good, ultimately we'll defeat ourselves. And I've said that to so many of my clients, or people ask me about, like, you worried about the government during the height of the Gensler period. I said, honestly, I don't. Because if we're adding value, if we're making the world a more productive place, it's going to work itself out fine. What we have to worry about is not making the world a more productive place, and then people just either getting bored or tired of it or what have you. We need to do more. I'm going to say that. We really need to do more. I see a lot of early stage projects. So few of them do I say, wow, that's, you're really doing something great here.
Like, you're going to change the world.
Yeah, you're going to change the world. Yeah. It's like, okay, it's another vault. Okay, I got it. Got it. And those are important, and but I'd love to see, there's so much that can be done with this. I was very disappointed that the NFT boom ended in the way that it did. Whoops, sorry.
Okay.
Because I do think that there's a lot of mechanism design and a lot of exciting things that can be done with technologies like NFTs. And I'd love to see more builders doing stuff with it. I realize, we overbuilt, and again, very much of a speculative, moment there, where we went from meaningful art, real art, to things that moved increasingly as we moved into the apes and other things, and then we had the floor and the ding and the dang, and the story this audience, I'm comfortable, knows really, really well, and it's an example, I'd say, Zain, of what I was talking about a moment or two ago. The whole thing dissipated, not really from a regulatory reason, but because people lost interest, because it was just down only, and then people just moved on with their lives.
There was no value that was added outside of speculation.
Yeah. It kind of was a maelstrom that sucked everything into it and then just spit out the bottom. I'd love to see, even at a smaller scale, people do things. And I think the VC community can contribute to this a lot.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people out there. A16 does great work, and Paradigm and others. But we could see more, I think, in terms of, obviously, funders need to answer to their LPs, and they obviously need to look at scale and provide a return. But at the same time, I'd love to see some smaller bets on people doing things that are really finding ways to have a unique voice in the world. I think I'm intrigued. I mentioned, Zain, about AI, and I think there's a lot to think about there, in particular agentic activity, which is super interesting. A lot of what I've seen with the kind of crypto meets AI has a little bit disappointed, just candidly. Not saying that nothing out there is good, but it's been a little. But I think there are kind of things. A number of people, Jake Bruckman, I'm sure you know, at Coin Fund, has written a bit about this in terms of compute and having basically diversified and decentralized, compute. And we have such an issue, of course, now with the availability, the cost of data centers, all this different stuff. There are areas that I think we can sort of start to engage with. And people are doing that, right? I think there is stuff. I'd like to see more of that. I think that sort of segues a bit into DeepIn, of course.
Yes.
And it's been, unfortunately, a bit of another disappointing story. Very excited about some of the DeepIn ideas we've seen. And they've, one reason or another, and some very anecdotal, but as a whole, it really hasn't manifested in quite the way I'd like it to. But I think we can, and I think Clarity, if passed, in particular, can be that reset to bring fresh capital in, to people have certainty around it, to have good disclosure about what's going on, to try and lower the temperature on the pump and dumps. I know. And really try and have some long-term goals. So I'd love to see that. And I'd love to, one of us get checkmated before this adventure is over, and you're doing what you can to extend this process.
We're progressing the cause.
Yeah, but we're
one move at a time.
Exactly.
I hear you, man, honestly. And I don't even think what you're saying is we need crypto to fulfill promises that it's early, more cyberpunk, like counterculture days espouse. You're saying, I just want projects that are coming across my desk that actually have some sort of substantive impact that I could see the world like it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I often use the term GDP positive. That they're creating that. One can argue. I've thought about this. Las Vegas as a system is sort of GDP positive because to have the tables, you need waitresses and you need all these service providers, and those people are all kind of adding to the overall economy, but not in the same way that I think we want to do. We want crypto to add to the net economy, and I think we still can and will. But we need to do that, to net positive contribution beyond just the service providers like myself. That's not the way. I don't want what I make to be the big contribution. Oh gosh, we made some money for Lewis. Is not the goal here.
The stable coins, the proliferation of them across the globe, and to be honest with you, we're essentially being able to, as the U.S. government, be able to get our hands into debt of as many people that want it as possible, which helps us out from a fiscal and monetary perspective. I'm curious to hear if you think that stable coins at least get us a fraction of the
All
way
right,
there
pronounce my queen.
and doing. Oh.
Yes. Well, the pieces are a little,
I'm a
semi-interesting.
little confused by them.
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
honest.
because the bishops and the queen, they're not holy. So yeah, we ain't doing that. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. I was progressing it, but not that far. You were saying, sorry about stablecoins. I think we haven't really talked a lot about stablecoins. It's such a hugely important topic. So yeah, no.
Do you think it has? The short version of it is, do you think that stablecoins have gotten us a fraction of the way there in terms of us fulfilling some sort of net positive GDP attribution from crypto?
Absolutely. I think we all, those of us who've been in the space for a long time, do understand. There's that. Yeah, I'm enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, the conversation's been fantastic.
I guess, yeah, it's a 50-50 on that one. So stablecoins, I think, really are a different maker. And I guess the point I was going to make, Sam, was the irony is, and this is really kind of coming back, just dial it back a couple of minutes to your point about cypherpunk, ideals, and maybe the ideals behind the Bitcoin white paper and Satoshi of a world that really moved beyond fiat.
Yeah.
And for many people, that's a really exciting idea. I would say I'm neutral on that. I'm agnostic what that looks like or how that happens. Stable coins, of course, are ironic in that their value is very much their rooting, their ability to be rooted in fiat, of course. And I think it is hard to escape that, and I just don't know enough to say. As I look at I guess it's a BitGo Bitcoin. Is that a sort of a little bit of both?
It's a big tuna, and yes, it is our logo
it's
as
your
well.
Logo there. Thinking
Yeah, which is a bit of a play of it.
Yeah, play on that for sure. I think stablecoins represent that melding of how the traditional financial world intersects with this. We could not have almost any of the stuff we do if we limit ourselves to, for lack of a better term, pure crypto. The Bitcoin, Ether, Sol, et cetera, and then some governance and DeFi tokens. We'd have a small system, and it would be interesting and nice, but it would be a really small thing. I think many of us in the space, certainly myself, believe it's a much bigger thing than that. And stablecoins are absolutely at the center of that, and they're that bridging point where people who believe in the space can really find that place where slowly but surely we find the right use cases, we find the ways that things can work in a new and different way.
That move put me in a bit of a. I need to retreat here.
Yes, well, it was all going so well. Lewis is getting highfalutin, and yeah.
So stablecoins found product market fit.
Yeah.
Positive GDP. There's a plethora of other positive connotations that are associated with it. Where else do you think there's opportunity? Do you think it's primarily on the tokenization front? Or where else do you think there's opportunity for crypto to come in and actually have that kind of net positive, as you put it, GDP impact?
Yeah, we've had several runs up the hill on social-related platforms, and many of them have not really fully clicked.
They have
not. They have not. I recognize that. I think there's still room for that. I think one of the things when I think about where people have gotten frustrated with crypto is a concept that I call hyper-marketization. And I actually looked up the word, and it is a word. It refers to like hypermarkets, like in Europe, big supermarkets.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean it here, turning everything into a market. And I think for many people, we appreciate market-based systems like Uber, where price, you could always get yourself an Uber, but it might be $80 to go to Midtown because supply-demand mismatch. And we understand that, but I think for many, we're frustrated by hypermarketization, turning everything into a market. And I think social uses of crypto that sort of somewhat tone that down and let people engage economically with their interests, in particular sports, things that people like, without verging right into prediction markets. We haven't really touched on that. It's a weirdly adjacent space to crypto.
It is.
Other than holding aside Polymarket is at least somewhat decentralized, but it is this odd thing. But I think there are other things where, like, I'd love to see more crypto as loyalty points. There are practical issues around that. We worry about, how a sports team does not want to be a financial business or a money transmitter, money service business. BitGo knows all about that.
Yes.
But I'd be intrigued to see more engagement around ideals and principles. And I know some of that you might call a meme coin, and you'd be right. That's fair enough. I don't think that's necessarily an insult. I think what we want are just things that people want to engage with and around in a non-purely speculative way. And I think there are stuff out there, and there will be. We spent a long time. I sadly remember long before the iPod. Yes, there we go. iPod and the iTunes Store. We struggled for a long time with digital music and what is the fit. And maybe we just haven't had that moment yet, and we shouldn't be giving up. Oh gosh, it's been 6 years and no iPod moment. Well, that's okay. There's a lot of innovators out there, and we'll come up with stuff. So I'd like to see more engagement in that. One thing, I often have these conversations, Zain, over a meal or at a restaurant somewhere, and talking with a bunch of my crypto friends, and I often will say, that table over there, see those people over there? Yeah. You think they know what Ethereum is? Do you think they care? What about those people? What about those people? Just look at them, they're people.
Yeah.
We have to get beyond that, right? I think for many of us, we live in our own sort of crypto bubble where, you say Ethereum, you say Solana, you say Uniswap, and you stand up and salute. Yes, sure. And that's wonderful. I do. I'm not throwing stones here, right? We need to get out a little bit and touch some grass and talk to those folks and say, what's the value add to you?
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody in the space who was building out something I personally think is super cool. And we were talking, and they said, if you just mention the word chain at this point, people recoil back. Yeah, recoil. There we go. Not recall. Recoil back. And I think we've got to kind of break out of that a little bit. And we do break out as we add more value, as people say, I see, that's why I want to, it's not, Bitcoin's in the doldrums, but I think it'll get up to 90 again by the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's okay, but it's not really a story,
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to what you said before, which is it's great to have speculation.
Right.
It's great to have financialization, but at the end of the day, that doesn't necessarily build a community of, in this case, like a social fi or anything of that nature. So I think it's a great point. And the price, regardless of the price, what's most important is actually building things that are going to be all around for a long time. Payments is quite an interesting area for that. In the US, right, stablecoins are great. They're not necessarily as useful as if I'm in Turkey or Argentina or other areas that deal with hyperinflation. But payments specifically, we've been having a lot of conversations with, let's just call them different payment providers across the value chain. And this is taking off much quicker than I would have ever expected. So from your perspective, do you also see that stablecoins, and regardless if it's Ethereum or Solana or whatever chain, do you ultimately see that they will move to this medium as a way, as like the rails of the value of exchange for payments, even in the States?
So I think yes is the short answer. I think certainly, Visa and MasterCard are much more than canaries in the coal mine. They're really leaders and thinkers, and they both as the leading payment providers, in the Western world, have.
It was my turn, right? Sorry.
It was your turn.
Okay.
But okay, so I'm just going to do that anyway, and it's because really, that's whatever.
We got to keep it moving.
Yeah, we got to keep it moving. I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Well, after my blunder, So yes, is it the unequivocal answer is yes. But you asked a deeper question, right? You said, well, is it on the surface level or on a substrate?
Yes.
And I think both is going to be the answer, right? It will in many cases, be more of a substrate as it's just a technology that lets people settle things in a much more efficient and clear way. And we're seeing Stripe lean into it, of course, very heavily. We're seeing a number of the other players doing that. And I think that's going to be very, very important. And there's just a lot of new ways to make money and develop innovative products.
Yeah.
But your distinction between the Western world, where payments have worked incredibly well for a very long time, we don't really need it. People, I think sometimes, I'll talk about this with folks, and they'll say, I don't see what's the point. Can I ask you, where do you live?
Yeah.
Oh, here in New York City, where you got a bank in every corner. You've got there's many people out there. There's like several billion people who've probably never seen. What's the number of people on this planet Earth who've never seen a bank? It's billions, probably.
Yeah.
Never seen a bank. Don't even know what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
Much less being offered banking services. We have to recognize that if we want to pull the whole world up along with us, we've got to provide services for them so that they can grow, so they can have businesses and do things. And so stablecoins can serve both roles. They can be a substrate in the developed world, and they can be a mechanism for people in the developing world to kind of start doing more economic activity and grow themselves. And that's ultimately, I think what we want to see.
Giving them the tools to be able to just go about their everyday lives. I believe it is.
Oh, we're back
turn.
to me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
No, you're great.
All right, so, well, we get some schlitz done here. Do that. So maybe this guy is not gonna fall down around me. Over the last, so if we went back in time, say into a year ago today, June 20, whatever we are at, 3rd, very aware of AI, used casually, et cetera, like so many people. The last 12 months and certainly the last 6 months have been such a sea change in how I use these tools, how I think about them, and how I think about others and their use. It's an incredible thing for anyone who has ambition and ideas to really maximize their ability to do whatever you want to do. It just opens so many doors. It's like a universal can opener. You look on the shelf and there are all these ideas and concepts and things you want to do, and they're all in cans, and they're all different kinds of cans, and you wish you could open them. And maybe you could if you spend there a long time and banged on them really hard. Yeah. Or you have this universal can opener that opens everything you want to do and gives you access to all this stuff, and it's an incredible opportunity. And I just again feel quite blessed that I live at a point in time where I'm able to do that, and we're really going to just move ourselves along here because something's going to happen.
Lewis, first off, you have some of the best analogies I've heard in a very long time. Second, are there any fun side projects that you're building, or is it primarily just work, heads down, going down to DC, talking to the different legislators, or are you working on anything fun on the side?
Well, I don't think I've ever had a point in my life where I didn't have some side idea that was getting cultivated and
you strike me as very entrepreneurial, very creative.
No, for sure, and that holds true today. I think everything I believe is in its right time, and so I'm excited to see what these tools will allow me to do, how I can really add value, and that's always the ultimate question that we have is how do we add more value to the world, and it's not necessarily monetary value. How do I support my family, my friends, my amazing, beautiful wife, if you're listening. I love you, honey. How do we support that? My kids. All of that, I think it's to me, it's all part of a parcel. So when you talk about like ideas and entrepreneurship, I think I definitely see entrepreneurship as something that goes beyond, okay, I'm going to start a ice cream factory or something like that. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship is growing and adding value to the world through your own creativity, through your own ideas, through things that your own unique experiences have allowed you to bring to the world. Yeah. That's entrepreneurship. And God willing, sometimes it'll make you a lot of money. I'm all, very good. But it doesn't have to. It doesn't always. I think when we limit ourselves, when we think of ourselves as only, well, if this idea is not going to make money, I don't want to spend time thinking about it. I just want to think about it. If it intrigues you, if it spends something like, you find yourself on a Saturday, bringing the shirts to the dry cleaner and thinking about it, that's good.
That's amazing.
Stick with that.
Yeah.
Stick with that thing and see where it takes you.
Yeah, like you said earlier, everything's quite human at the end of the day. And
yes.
You can go back thousands of years, and having money as being the only outcome that you're focused on when you're building these different things is incredibly limiting, especially as like a form of creativity and expression. Are you highly contemplating your next move?
Well, I mean, highly. All right. Well, I'm just in the spirit of moving things along. I'm just gonna.
You're just gonna make the move.
Let's let it just.
Let
it all. Let's let them cook. Here. Let them cook. Let them cook. Yeah. No, I can't. Oh, yes, we can. Oh, look at that.
Yes,
Turns out
that I might be in a bit of a pickle.
I don't know about that, but yeah. So I love that. We also have some family in Ireland, which is a long story, which I'll spare everybody on that one. But we're going to spend a week in Ireland,
Dublin,
and actually on the west side.
Okay.
So outside of Limerick. It's a beautiful place called Adair Manor, and it just looks absolutely lovely. And that's just pure R&R, relax. Regrettably, I'm not a golfer. That will shock no one that I'm not a golfer. As a kid who grew up in New York City of modest means, but very much we're looking forward to that, and also just having some kind of relaxing, fun, relaxing time with the family, friends, exactly, and. The heck it. And other breaking news, we've got 3 goats who are our little goat friends.
You've got 3 goats?
Got 3 goats. There's our goat friend.
Not fainting. Or what types of goats you got?
Just billy goats.
Yeah, just billy goats?
Billy goats. They're kind of big. Yeah, you wouldn't want them to come knock you over. That would be they're very friendly, but
they don't charge you.
They don't charge you as such. They get very excited. They go hopping around. They kind of do that sideways hop thing.
Yeah, a little
just kind of hop. Just like, okay, you're doing that. That's fun. All right, you got that there.
Yeah.
So we get to hang out with them and
Do you have a lot of farm animals, or just the goats?
Well, it's mainly the goats. We flirted with the chicken idea, and then you get the eggs. So you get the eggs, you get the chicken.
That alone,
it's a lot of work, and it just at some point. And I do actually feed the goats with some frequency. It's fun. Again, it comes back to that. It reminds you, crypto is such a sort of obtuse, intellectual sort of thing, and I enjoy it very much. Again, no shock to anyone who names his main thing after James Joyce, but it's nice to just like talk. A goat doesn't care.
Yeah,
they really don't give a shit. Can I cuss? I don't know.
Yeah,
cuss a lot, but I'll try not to. Don't want the FTC coming after you there. And you get grounded in that, and you say that also. I've obviously many friends in the crypto space, but a lot of friends who are not at all in the crypto space. Yeah. And I guess maybe you took me.
Yeah, I did. I took your
I'm going to just do that there.
Yeah. That looks about right. That looks about right.
We're getting on with the whole thing.
We're getting on with it. We are getting on with it. Okay. And you grew up in New York, Lewis?
I did. I grew up in the East Village on St. Mark's Place. Growing up amongst the punk rockers and the various various others. Mostly all the Ramones are moved on. Yeah.
Okay. Chuck.
Start the chasing me around phase of
yes. Alrighty. Yeah. They're both very metallic.
Yes.
Makes it hard to tell.
Yeah. Here's the thing, maybe my podcast. Do you ever play Go?
Go,
the Japanese game?
No, I've never played.
This is an awesome game.
I should check it out.
You should check it out. It's a really cool story. It's much more strategically complex than chess. So, for example, there were like 10 years transpired between where a computer was able to beat the best human at chess and when the computer was able to beat the best human at Go. So, it just gives you some sense. It's just such an Eastern type game where once the pieces are placed, they don't move unless they're taken off the board.
Yeah.
And it progresses from the corners endwards. So it has this, like if you look at a Go match, like sped up, it has this very interesting organic kind of growing thing.
The way it moves is almost like it's alive.
Yeah. If you take away the hands and moving and stuff, it's a very cool game. So
are we playing? Is that our next?
Could be the next thing.
The next thing we should do that.
I'm even worse. Probably Go, the name of chess, which is really a boast there.
Have you played Mahjong?
I've never played Mahjong. No.
I walked by a shop yesterday. There was like 15 tables set up for it.
Wow, that's Well, I think of like older ladies in Florida. That's mainly
with the visor on.
With the visors on. That's what I got. You say Mahjong, that's what I got. And could you put some sunscreen, honey? Could you? Yeah.
You're not a snowbird or anything like that. No. You have no plans. You're born and raised in New York.
I'm born and raised. Yeah, we love it here. Yeah. We're happy. Yeah, we're all good. All right. So how are you gonna try and get a fork in this one or what?
Is it my turn?
I think. No, because that was just no. I think I took your pawn, so I think you're.
And then I took.
Oh, you took the
your
other
pawn.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're great, brother. You're doing a lot of work on vaults.
Vaults, yes.
Yeah.
Vaults are, there's a lot of interest. And it's I think in part because it's such a flexible kind of technology. Wait, this is me.
Yeah, that's you, man.
All right.
Yeah, you can put a lot of different parallel structures from the traditional markets and that, different structures we're highly familiar with, and then put them in a vault form is kind of what you're
yes,
getting at. Yeah.
Exactly. There's just, it's just very, 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 very flexible. And I think that's why people are experimenting a lot. It of course raises lots and lots of regulatory issues when you think about it. It can create, vault receipt tokens may or may not be securities.
Yes.
The vault pool may be an investment company as a pool of. It could also be a commodity pool, both of which have very significant regulatory implications. There's a lot. There's a lot to think about.
Yeah, you can't use the defense in this case, which in many cases it's not just a crypto thing. They've used it throughout time of technology.
Yeah.
You can't just say this is like some form of a medium of technology.
Yes.
Like this actually
Right, we
does.
know, right. And it's people, I mean, all for the better. Like this is an earned product and you're going to make yield. I mean, let's just come right out and say it.
Those are good things.
Yeah, those are good things, right? We want economic value to accrue. And so, no, can't do that, of course.
Ooh. You're making it tough. You're at the end. I'm also admittedly not the best.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say you're pretty far up.
No, not 1500. Like the number 15.
15. Oh, okay. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, no. Just joking there. Whatever. It's the lowest number I could.
Check. I think it might be checkmate, but I could be wrong. Because I don't think you can take the king. Oh yeah, you can move forward. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, we're getting desperately close here, folks. You're at the edge of your seats, I can tell. What could happen next?
But the intersection of agentic commerce with crypto.
For sure. And yeah, no, I saw that one coming. Yeah, there's not really kind of figuring it out. Did I take my hand off a piece?
No, you're good.
Because I can now, because you're going to do it. Whatever. Yeah, because you can. Never mind. Yeah, it's just. Folks, I'm already saying victory here because I did not horribly embarrass myself, and I'm considering that a win. I'm just telling you, I'm a low grader, but
So
My goal was not to look like a total noob. I think I like worked that one out. I think maybe I'm just going to concede.
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that.
do that.
It's been such a pleasure.
Lewis,
Thank you.
absolute
Great
pleasure.
game, and congrats on the win and on the format. It's a lot of fun. BitGo is amazing. We love you guys, and thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming. And yeah, it was brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right, awesome.